A possible tornado outbreak is on the way for the Great Lakes region. Let's talk about it. Howdy everybody, the time is 11:06 a.m. and it is Monday, April 3rd. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. Hopefully everybody is doing well today. This week is actually going to be unseasonably warm across much of the Great Lakes region. That also includes Ohio, parts of Michigan, Indiana. You're going to see temperatures close to 80 degrees in some spots, especially farther south you are, but that's going to come with a cost. We're likely going to be seeing some possibility of severe weather across this area. This is Cedarville University, an overhead view, drone view of Cedarville, and areas to the north and east are likely going to see the possibility of some tornadoes. So we're going to look at all of that with this upcoming weather event. So let's get right to it and see exactly what is going on with the weather we're dealing with today. Okay, so this is the Storm Prediction Center's website. All right, so you have the currently the slight risk that's down to the south. They're dealing with some weather down in that region. We are dealing with a little bit of rainfall across southern Ohio, southern Indiana, and then you're also getting some across central Michigan that is starting to pop up as well. That will continue for a part of the day, and then it's likely that things will start to look a little bit nicer later on. But again, let's go to Monday. Or actually Tuesday. You do notice that there is a moderate risk for severe weather out for Iowa, northeast Missouri, western Illinois. You do see that setup there for the possibility of tornadoes, even some strong tornadoes as well, damaging wind gusts and hail. Looks like hail and tornadoes could be the strongest threats from this. There will be damaging winds though as well. That does clip a portion of southwestern Michigan and western Indiana. Now this storm could do some damage across those regions, but I do think the primary focus of the severe weather event that's going to be coming is going to be the next day. All right, you do see slight risk for severe weather focused across eastern Michigan, eastern Indiana, and the entire state of Ohio is also included in this severe threat. And then look at this. You have 15% chance of severe weather within 25 miles of a point, and that hatched area that you see there indicates a chance of significant severe weather. Now, you do notice that a huge brunt of Ohio is included in that threat zone for Wednesday. Okay, this does include areas to the north of Cincinnati. Dayton is also included in this threat region. Cleveland, Columbus, Detroit, areas such as that, and it's just to the east of Fort Wayne. Anywhere to the east of Fort Wayne to the north of Cincinnati could potentially see some significant severe weather from this. So we're going to look at the models and evaluate. Now the models are not really doing a great job of showing how much convective initiation will actually occur. And also one thing that could be a concern for this event, and the reason why it's only a slight risk, is because we might be lacking that instability that we might need for this threat to pop up and take place. So we're going to look at the models and evaluate exactly what might be going on with this severe weather threat before we move to making any later assumptions on what could possibly happen. So here is the HRRR model. We're going to start there. We really don't have, we have the threat for tomorrow laid out with the HRRR, but we don't really have Wednesdays, okay, because it's only a 48-hour model. But let's take a look at what's going to be happening at the more upcoming stages. So you have Tuesday morning at about 7 a.m. right here. You do notice there's some pop-up showers and thunderstorms in Indiana. Now again, these ones will not likely be severe, but you do have a very sharp change in winds at the lower levels to the upper levels, but the winds will be very light. So you may have a few typical thunderstorms that could possibly occur with this. And then first of all, before we get to what's coming up, take a look at our temperatures, how our temperature is going to change through this time. You're going to see temperatures, wow, look how quickly they warm up into the 70s today. This is actually for today. And then as we get into tomorrow, look how much warmer they even get. They might even get to the 80s in some spots in southern Indiana, southern Ohio, mid 70s, and then also just in parts of Michigan, you have temperatures in the 50s. So it's going to be still pretty cold there unless you are in the extreme southwestern portion where temperatures could significantly warm up. You can see there's a stark difference between the warm sector here and the cold air on the northern side, and that's what could contribute to this storm event with this cold front that's going to be moving in. So here is your cooling down overnight, and then we get into Wednesday. You see that very sharp cold front that's starting to show itself by the time we get to Wednesday morning. This is as far as the models go out. All right, so temperatures will be in the upper 60s overnight. It's going to feel like summer across parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio for the overnight hours. But then we're going to see that cold front move through. It's going to really cool things down. You can see just how much cold air is on the back side of this. We'll talk about what that's going to bring a little later on. But you do notice very sharp warm sector that's going to be starkly contrasted to the air to the north, and that's what's going to contribute to the severe weather that we might potentially see. So let's go back to where we were with this thunderstorm activity that could be developing Tuesday afternoon. You do notice an initial setup of supercells here. Let's actually get a look at the reflectivity with updraft helicity in the background. You can kind of see where these will go or take off. You do notice an interesting thing. There does seem to be a supercell thunderstorm that does take off across northern Michigan, and you do have a very sharp photograph there, a very powerful directional shear with that cell. We'll have to wait to see how that turns out, but you do notice more supercells begin to develop across parts of northern Illinois. Tornado sounding right there, very sharp and strong tornado sounding for the potential for strong tornadoes across this region. You can see why the SBC has put a moderate risk out for this area for these supercell clusters that will initiate across Iowa. Again, tornado sounding showing very strong parameters for tornadoes. Storm relative helicity in the 400s, Cape values of 1300, steep lapse rates. You got a little bit of a capping inversion at the lower levels, but cloud bases will be a little bit elevated, but still they could still produce a tornado. And hodographs are very well set up for this event, and you do see, look at the significant tornado parameters. They're very high, level 8 across parts of this area. Tornado potential is quite elevated with this event, and even some potential for some of these storms to survive over the lake and make it into Michigan. Again, the lake will likely stabilize some of these storms to make them more along the lines of severe weather rather than tornado potential. And then you notice this cold front here is starting to show itself with that convective line that's going to be moving in. And then these little cells popping up early in the morning, you get a sounding. It does even show some tornado potential with those moving through as well. And then you see them start to break apart into clusters as early as 7 a.m. across Indiana, and then they'll begin to move into Ohio as well. My chase plan is going to be parts of central Ohio right here, where hopefully the instability will be a little bit more elevated. Real question is, how much instability are we going to really have for this event? And that's kind of the concern at this point. Let's look at the above ground level Cape first of all, because that's kind of important for those low level storms. There is going to be not too much low level instability, okay? And we do have it focused ahead of particular storms, but we don't really have a broad sector of that instability that does exist. Now, surface-based Cape, according to the HRRR, it does show enough instability to fire some storms, 800, okay? So that is enough instability to fire some storms with a little bit marginal tornado potential, but again, instability is going to be the question here, okay? It's dependent on how much rain we get in the morning and how much cloud cover is going to be over us. And once we get that instability, then we will likely start to see these storms possibly take off and be a little bit more interesting. But right now we have cloud cover forecasted for Wednesday, which is going to be a cause for possibly why these storms may not take off as much as people would anticipate with these events. So that's going to be the next thing to watch out for with these. How much cloud cover? Is this cloud cover going to dissipate during the morning? What is going to happen with the cloud cover? Because when we figure that out, then we'll be able to figure out how intense these storms will actually be. Let's look at the cloud cover for this event on the GFS and get a comparison. Here's Wednesday morning. As you can see, the cloud cover sticks with us throughout all of the day before we have that cold front move through and clear things out. So it's really going to be a rather sloppy look across that region in Ohio on Wednesday, but not really enough sunshine to contribute to an increased threat for severe thunderstorms. But still, the tornado threat will remain. And if you look at the NAM model, let's look at the 3K model actually, since we do have that capability now. You can see kind of what's going to be happening according to the NAM. You do have that convective line forming. The NAM doesn't really show much initiation of these supercells, not really doing too good of a job with that. But as we get into the afternoon hours, you can see the NAM does kind of portray those supercells popping up ahead of this line. And those storms, again, could possibly be strong to severe marginal tornado threat. And if we look at the cloud cover, we're seeing kind of consistently cloud cover across all of the models, even the NAM also. Well, the NAM actually is playing it a little bit different. A lot of scattered cloud cover rather than just complete cloud cover over the region. So that'll be something to watch out for, see if the cloud cover does remain or if it dissipates. That'll be something that only time will tell and make the determination on. So let's freeze frame it. Let's use the HRRR. Actually, the HRRR, we do not have everything we need for the HRRR. We're going to fast forward it to Wednesday with the Euro model. All right, so here's the Euro model. Let's freeze frame it on hour 60 and look at some of the severe weather dynamics that we might have for this event. So severe weather, surface-based cape, or most unstable cape. See, the interesting thing is that the cape's going to be more focused across Michigan, okay? With that focus of cape across Michigan, I do think Michigan might have a better chance of seeing some severe weather that includes the potential for some tornadoes. It doesn't look like those tornadoes will be weak, will be very strong, but it does show tornado potential. I think the stronger tornadoes will likely be focused across parts of Ohio as well. Marginal severe potential and cape values of 750. You do have that directional and speed shear in the atmosphere. You look at the upper air winds across parts of that region. You have a lot of upper level winds, or that's the mid layer right there. So your mid layer is actually pushed back a little bit, but you still have mid layer winds that are pretty strong. And then the jet stream is also pushed a little bit back, a little bit off of the main line. So that's also something that could decrease the intensity of those storms. So it's really a hit and miss situation with this setup with storms. You do have a strong cold front coming into a warm moist sector of air. We'll have to see how powerful these storms can really get and if the models come together more consistently with this setup. But so far, it really looks like kind of a more difficult setup, but still the slight risk does remain, and we will still chase it if the slight risk does remain. So we'll have to see what happens, but that's pretty much all I wanted to give you guys an update on. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to stay updated. I'll continue to be providing updates on the severe weather event as it evolves. Again, the SPC has a bit more data than I do, so definitely refer to them. We'll see what they do with the next upcoming graphics for this on Tuesday. But that is the threat for tomorrow, or Wednesday, and then the threat for tomorrow is back here with that moderate risk for severe thunderstorms across this region with the possibility of even some tornadoes in Michigan as well. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.